It was a little disappointing that we couldn't watch him play catch. That one quiet sentence from Ryuichi Kihara sounded like nothing more than a casual thought. But Shohei Ohtani did not miss it. After the game, Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara entered the VIP room hoping for only one thing. They wanted Ohtani's signature on the special ball they had used for the ceremonial first pitch. That was all they expected. But Ohtani did not only hand them back a signed baseball. Inside a simple white envelope were 2 tickets with no date written on them. Please come again whenever your schedule allows. Those tickets were Ohtani's answer to the small regret Kihara had mentioned hours earlier. Why did Ohtani remember a sentence most people would have ignored? And why did he respond with undated tickets instead of just polite words? The real meaning behind those tickets is where the story begins. When the final out was recorded, Dodger Stadium exploded with noise. The Dodgers had just completed a dramatic comeback and defeated the Colorado Rockies 5-3. While the crowd was still buzzing, a quiet and special meeting was about to begin inside a VIP room deep inside the stadium. Waiting there were Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara, the world-famous figure skating pair. Earlier that day, they had stepped onto the baseball field for the ceremonial first pitch. For 2 athletes who usually perform on ice, walking onto the wide green field of a major league stadium was already unforgettable. The cheers, the lights, the size of the crowd, and the pressure of the moment made it feel completely different from anything they had experienced before. After successfully finishing the first pitch, they came to the VIP room for one simple reason. They wanted Shohei Ohtani to sign the commemorative ball they had thrown from the mound. But a few hours before that meeting, something small happened behind the scenes. After the first pitch, Kihara approached Dodgers manager Dave Roberts and politely asked if it might be possible to get Ohtani's autograph on the ball after the game. Roberts gladly accepted, and the conversation stayed friendly and relaxed. Then Kihara casually said something almost like a whisper. "The only thing I'm a little sad about is that I couldn't watch Ohtani warming up and playing catch from close by." It was not a request. It was not a complaint. It was just the honest feeling of a fan who had already received an incredible memory, but still had one tiny regret in his heart. Most people would have heard that sentence, smiled, and forgotten it. Even Roberts did not treat it as a request. Later, when he returned to the preparation area, he simply mentioned the conversation to Ohtani. He told him that he had spoken with the Japanese skaters and casually shared what Kihara had said. Nobody expected that one quiet comment to stay in Ohtani's mind. He was preparing for a serious game, moving through a strict routine, and focusing on every detail of his performance. But number 17 reacted differently. Ohtani did not simply nod and say, "I understand." Without breaking his focus, he locked that detail away in his mind. Before the meeting even happened, he quietly spoke to the team staff and arranged something special behind the scenes. That tiny regret, which almost disappeared into the noise of the stadium, was noticed by only one person: Shohei Ohtani. After the game, Ohtani entered the VIP lounge. Even after a long and intense match, he showed no sign of exhaustion. He greeted Miura and Kihara with a respectful bow, then accepted the ball from Kihara's hands. Before signing it, Ohtani said something that immediately surprised them. "I'm very sorry I couldn't watch your first pitch directly before the game. I had to prepare for my own routine." Miura and Kihara were instantly humbled. There was no reason for Ohtani to apologize. He was a global superstar preparing for a major league game. Of course, his routine had to come first. But Ohtani continued. "Manager Roberts told me about it clearly. You used the lifting technique from figure skating for the first pitch, right? That couldn't have been easy." The entire stadium was really excited. The two froze for a moment. Ohtani was not just being polite. He had listened carefully. He remembered the detail about the lift. He understood that their first pitch was not just a normal throw, but a performance connected to their skating identity. That one sentence showed how deeply he listened to other people. Ohtani signed the ball neatly. Normally, that would have been the end of the meeting. A signature, a handshake, a photo, and a warm goodbye. Miura and Kihara would have been more than satisfied. But then Ohtani reached into his pocket and pulled out a white envelope. He quietly handed it to them. Next time, if you have time, please come a little earlier." Confused, they opened the envelope. Inside were 2 special invitation tickets. These were not ordinary tickets. They allowed early entry into the stadium before the normal crowd could come in. Miura looked at the tickets and softly said, "There's no date written on them." Ohtani smiled and explained, "You can use these whenever it works for your schedule. With these tickets, you can enter before the usual opening time. From there, you'll be able to watch our pre-game warm-ups, batting practice, and catch from the closest area, from beginning to end." Then he added something even more thoughtful. "So you don't have to rush or force your schedule. When things calm down and you have time, please come back as regular fans and enjoy baseball slowly." At that moment, the VIP room went silent. What had started as a polite meeting between athletes suddenly became something much deeper. Those undated tickets were Ohtani's perfect answer to Kihara's small regret from hours earlier. He had heard it, he had remembered it, and he had quietly turned it into a gift. This was not just kindness. It revealed something even more powerful about Ohtani as a top athlete. Great players do not only see the obvious things, they notice the tiny details that everyone else misses. In professional sports, the smallest details decide everything. In Major League Baseball, where a ball can travel over 100 miles per hour and a decision must be made in a fraction of a second, elite players train their minds to read everything. A pitcher's fingers, a batter's stance, the wind, the sound of contact, the movement of the crowd. All of it matters. Ohtani's mind works with that same extreme level of awareness even outside the field. A sentence that most people would forget became something he remembered clearly. A small disappointment became something he wanted to fix. A casual comment became a meaningful invitation. That is why those 2 undated tickets were not just tickets. They were proof that Shohei Ohtani listens in a way most people do not. And for Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara, that signed ball was no longer the only memory they took home from Dodger Stadium. They also carried something far more personal, the feeling that one of the greatest athletes in the world had truly heard them. Ohtani's remarkable attention to detail doesn't stop once he steps off the baseball field. The same incredible awareness that allows him to dominate on the diamond also shapes the way he interacts with the people around him. That is exactly why the simple comment Dave Roberts casually mentioned. Kihara said he was a little disappointed he couldn't watch your pregame catch, was not lost in the noise. To most people, it would have been forgettable small talk. But inside Ohtani's mind, it became a clear piece of information. Most people become completely consumed by their own responsibilities. Before a major game, their attention narrows and everything else fades into the background. Yet the very best performers often notice details that others never see. Just as a master craftsman can instantly detect a tiny flaw in a work of art, Ohtani recognized Kihara's offhand remark as something worth remembering. What makes this story even more remarkable is how he chose to respond. Simply saying, "Come back and watch another game sometime," would have been polite enough. Most people would have considered that more than generous. Giving them tickets for a specific game also would have seemed thoughtful. But Ohtani understood something deeper. Miura and Kihara were still active world-class athletes with demanding schedules. A ticket tied to a specific date could easily become another obligation. Instead of creating pressure, he created flexibility. Rather than saying, "Come when it's convenient for me," he effectively said, "Come whenever it's convenient for you." That distinction reveals an extraordinary level of consideration. To come up with a gift like that, Ohtani had to think about their schedule, their responsibilities, and even the potential stress that a fixed invitation might create. He understood not only the words Kihara had spoken, but also the feelings behind them. He identified the problem and solved it in the most comfortable way possible. It is the same mental process he uses on the field when reading a pitcher's intentions or anticipating what will happen next. The observation skills that make him one of the greatest baseball players in the world also appear in the way he treats other people. A few days later, when Ryuichi Kihara spoke with Japanese media, he reflected on that unforgettable meeting. What stood out most was not the signed baseball. It was the white envelope. To be honest, Kihara admitted, "We thought getting a signature would be more than enough. We never expected anything beyond that." For them, the mission had already been accomplished the moment Ohtani signed the ball. The meeting took place immediately after a game, one of the busiest and most exhausting moments for any professional athlete. Miura and Kihara understood that. They expected a quick greeting, a handshake, perhaps a photo, and then a respectful goodbye. That was the normal routine. So when Ohtani suddenly reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope, neither of them knew what was happening. Both Riku and I completely froze for a few seconds, Kihara recalled. The room became incredibly quiet. They opened the envelope and examined the tickets carefully. They looked at the front, turned them over, and checked again. Something seemed strange. There was no date. At first, they assumed they had received tickets for a specific game. But no matter how many times they checked, the date simply wasn't there. Riku actually asked, "There's no date on these?" Kihara remembered with a smile. That was when Ohtani quietly explained, "There's no need to rush." Those simple words stayed with Kihara. Ohtani told them to choose whichever day worked best for them. He wanted them to return when their schedules allowed and enjoy the experience without pressure. More importantly, he wanted them to see everything. The warm-ups, the batting practice, the pre-game catch, every part of the preparation process from beginning to end. As Kihara remembered Ohtani's expression, he spoke about the moment with visible emotion. He wanted us to come back on the day that was truly most convenient for us. He wanted us to watch everything from start to finish. At that point, all we could do was bow and thank him over and over again. What made the gesture so meaningful was the fact that Kihara's original comment had never been a request. He had not asked for special treatment. He had not hinted that he wanted another invitation. He had simply spoken out loud as a fan. In everyday life, people often make casual comments about things they wish they could have experienced. Most of the time, nobody remembers those remarks. Yet one of the busiest and most recognizable athletes in the world not only remembered it, but acted on it. Before Miura and Kihara even entered the room, Ohtani had already instructed staff members and arranged the perfect response. That realization left Kihara speechless. As athletes, we understand how much preparation goes into competition, he explained. We know how exhausting it is after a game. That's why it's so hard for us to understand how he remembered that one sentence among everything else he had to think about. For a moment, Kihara struggled to find the right words. There are simply some acts of kindness that are difficult to describe immediately. At the end of the interview, he shared a promise that had been deeply etched into his heart. We can't repay this kindness right away. Our schedules are busy, and he's in the middle of a season. But we will definitely come back. Then he smiled. Next time, we're going to watch that pre-game catch from the very beginning. And just as he suggested, we'll come back as ordinary fans and enjoy watching him play. The story quickly spread beyond Japan. Major League Baseball analysts in the United States also discussed the unusual gesture. One veteran commentator pointed out that the most impressive part was not the financial value of the tickets. The tickets themselves were not rare. Any organization could provide early entry passes, if it wanted to. That was not what made the moment special. The real value was hidden in the thought process behind them. Anyone can give a gift. Very few people can identify a disappointment that was never directly expressed, remember it hours later, and then solve it in a way that removes pressure rather than creating it. That level of awareness is rare. And according to many observers, it explains why Shohei Ohtani continues to leave such a powerful impression on everyone he meets. Because sometimes the most memorable gifts are not the expensive ones. They are the ones that prove someone was truly listening. What makes this story so extraordinary is not the tickets themselves. The truly remarkable part is the way Shohei Ohtani chose to respond to a detail that almost everyone else would have ignored. That is what impressed analysts the most. One veteran commentator reflected on the moment and said that the most surprising aspect was not Ohtani's generosity, but his decision to stop, listen, and act on something so small. Think about the situation for a moment. Ohtani had just finished an intense major league game. He had sprinted down the first base line at full speed, contributed to a comeback victory, and spent hours operating under the pressure that only elite professional athletes understand. Most players in that situation would be thinking about recovery, reviewing key moments from the game, or simply trying to get home and rest. At most, they might sign a few autographs, take a couple of photos, and move on with their evening. But Ohtani did something different. He paused. He remembered. And he responded. A television host later pointed out how overwhelming the daily schedule of a major league player can be. The travel, preparation, media obligations, workouts, games, and recovery leave very little mental space for anything else. The analyst immediately agreed. In environments like Major League Baseball, he explained, people naturally filter information. The human brain protects itself by discarding details that seem unrelated to the task at hand. That is normal. That is how most people function. What is not normal is hearing a small comment, remembering it hours later, and transforming it into a thoughtful action before anyone asks you to do so. That is rare. In fact, it is extraordinary. The analyst was especially impressed by one detail. Ohtani had already arranged the tickets before the meeting even began. That means he did not react in the moment after seeing Miura and Kihara face-to-face. He had already decided what he wanted to do. He had already instructed staff members. He had already prepared the envelope. The decision was made long before the two skaters walked into the room. According to the analyst, that reveals something important about how Ohtani processes the world around him. He is constantly listening, he said. His awareness of his own responsibilities and his awareness of other people's needs seem to operate independently at the same time. While focusing on one of the biggest games of the season, he was still paying attention to someone else's disappointment. While managing his own performance, he was still observing the feelings of the people around him. And most importantly, he found a quiet and elegant way to address those feelings without drawing attention to himself. The analyst concluded with a powerful observation about Ohtani's influence. We often talk about the 100-mile-per-hour pitches, the towering home runs, and the incredible statistics, he said. But moments like this remind us that Ohtani's impact goes far beyond what happens on the field. Great athletes change games. Exceptional athletes change people. A single play can influence a scoreboard. A single act of thoughtfulness can stay with someone for the rest of their life. That is exactly what happened here. Kihara's casual comment about missing pre-game catch could have disappeared into the noise of a busy stadium. Instead, it became a lesson about attention, a lesson about empathy, and a lesson about what true greatness looks like. Because greatness is not only measured by trophies, championships, or records. Sometimes it is measured by how a person responds to a moment that nobody else notices. At the center of this entire story was one simple sentence. I was a little disappointed that I couldn't watch him play catch. Those words were never meant to become important. They were not a request. They were not a complaint. They were simply an honest thought spoken aloud. Yet, Ohtani heard something deeper behind those words. He recognized a small disappointment. He remembered it. And he found a way to make it right. That may be the most revealing part of this entire story. Throughout his career, Ohtani has built a reputation for seeing details that others miss. On the field, he reads spin, movement, timing, and positioning with extraordinary precision. He notices things that most players never see. What this episode demonstrates is that the same ability extends beyond baseball. Just as he studies the rotation of a baseball leaving a pitcher's hand, he seems to notice the subtle emotions hidden inside everyday conversations. The tiny hesitation in someone's voice, the quiet regret buried inside a sentence, the disappointment that is never directly expressed. Those details matter to him. And perhaps that is why he continues to leave such a lasting impression on the people he meets. The most successful individuals often understand something that many others overlook. The truth is that the biggest answers are often hidden inside the smallest details. Whether it is analyzing game footage, preparing for competition, or interacting with people, they know that the details everyone else ignores frequently contain the most important information. For Ohtani, the same observational skills that help him succeed in baseball appear to guide the way he treats others. Data analysis, preparation, awareness, empathy. In his mind, they all seem connected. And maybe that is the deeper meaning behind those undated tickets. They were never just tickets. They were proof that someone had been paying attention. In a world where people are constantly distracted, constantly busy, and constantly rushing to the next task, Ohtani offered a quiet reminder. Listen carefully. Notice the details. Remember what matters to people. Because sometimes a small disappointment is not really small at all. Sometimes it is an opportunity to make someone feel seen. And perhaps that is the true mark of greatness. Not simply hitting the longest home run. Not simply throwing the fastest pitch. But having the awareness to notice a quiet sentence that everyone else missed and the kindness to do something about it. What do you think about Ohtani's incredible attention to detail and the meaning behind those undated tickets? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like for more inspiring moments from the world of sports.